let's start with Alfie the Beast. Puppy started barking at kids on the street for attention. What to do? When you guys do these, I don't know the age. So the age does matter, but I know there's not a lot of room whenever
puppy
you guys...
could be 4 to 8 months old, or even like 4 to 12 months old, depending on what someone associates as a puppy.
Let's do under 16 weeks and then like over 16 weeks. All right, which one do you want to take?
You take under. I'll
Okay.
take over.
16. Oh man, that's not
I know,
like
it's
the
a problem.
behavioral one is like 16 weeks.
Okay, you take the over. I'll take the under.
Okay, go take that.
All right, cool. So under 16 weeks, a lot of the time it's just overstimulation. It's not so much behavioral. It's them seeing something new. They're overexcited. They want to say hi to everything, everyone, go greet everyone and everything. And a lot of the time, we've allowed them to do it, which can then lead. Oh, I know.
I'm glad you
I threw it in your ball court a little bit.
All way better than what I would have said.
And when we give them access to do that all the time, our puppies stop being outside for us and they're starting to be outside for them. Meaning that they're only out there. I know. It's just, this is our morning right now, or afternoon, whatever it is.
You were on fire today.
When we give them access to do it all the time, they're on the walk for themselves, and then they're only there to say hi to people. So we need to make sure if we are going to allow them, Beth and I personally, we don't really let any puppies say hi to people on the walk because it's kind of work mode for us, but I get not everyone's going to be like 2 professional dog trainers. So if you're going to, ask them for a sit, use a little bit of food, and then give them a release word to go say hi, or challenge the people that are coming up. The minute you put a piece of food in a stranger's hand, you say, my puppy has to sit for you, take the treat calmly before you can say hi, that just turned that person into a trainer.
Yep. Kids love to help. Thing. They love to help.
That person's now working for your puppy. They have a completely different relationship from that moment on in getting the food from your puppy.
Yeah.
Or getting the food from your puppy.
And I would go, this goes for any age group, you need to work in a controlled session environment. So you need to go to a park where there's like a kids area and work for under 16 weeks old, under threshold.
Are you going to tell them about your little lion experience with Dusty?
Oh, the lion experience?
No, line. You made a line.
Oh, a line.
She made a line with a bunch of little kids who all wanted to bombard her dog.
Oh,
so she goes, you have to stand in line and each person give a treat after a sit and a good.
I thought you said a lion. I was like, there are no lions in Southern California.
Well, why not? There's zoos.
But no, but I absolutely did do that. That's true. You remember things I said. It's amazing.
I know, right? Once in a while.
So it's, Dusty's a little nervous of kids. He's actually a lot nervous of kids, but he was starting to warm up. Now, I never let him say hello on walks, just like what he said, because I want our neighborhood for him to not seek value elsewhere. This is critical for dogs over 16 weeks old, and we would still highly advise structured hellos, like he mentioned, under 16 weeks old. And so that just lets Dusty and every other dog I have know that when we're on a walk, it's about me. They're not going to get any value elsewhere. But if I go to the park or if I travel or something like that, it's a bit more relaxed. Or with Dusty, I specifically wanted to kind of work on this, and I don't have a bunch of children around. So we went down to our local park, and just so happens some kids wanted to say hi, and I made them line up to do it, because I know Dusty will tolerate it one-on-one, and I wanted it to be a positive experience. Multiple kids come at him. He backs away. He's even done like a little side bark before when I first got him years ago, which is how I kind of figured all that out.
You gotta think about the situation. Your dog is basically being bombarded from all sides.
Energy.
From little things that have a ton of energy. Yes,
so they're
I
going
called
to start to
them
bark
things.
Things. You did just call children things.
I did call them things, because dogs, that's what they perceive them as.
Yeah.
They're not dogs, they're not full humans yet.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of think from how our dogs are thinking and put them in a situation where we're setting them up for success rather than giving them a situation they're known to fail in.
Yep. And then the rest of the time with Dusty, I'll just use him as an example. He's a nervous dog, and then I'll use an excited version. We bubble out and around. So if I'm not working on something actively, which means having kids one-on-one controlled, I even tell them how to pet him, all of that. And then the other way is to kind of let him look at the kids. Like he hears screaming and he kind of perks up, a little discomfort, which might be barking for your dog, recall them to you into a sit. So it's like pressure on, pressure off, pressure on, pressure off. The rest of the time, bubble out and around things. Show your dog that you control the space, whether they're excited or nervous, and so they have to follow your lead. So if I'm walking, the moment my dog's ears perk up, at a kid anywhere or anything, this goes for anything, it's immediately let's go and bubble out and around or turn and go the other direction. I'm not avoiding because my dog alerted to it, but I am taking control of where we walk.
Redirecting the
energy
and kind of giving a better channel.
Putting them in follower mode. You follow me.
Like that.
I will control the environment. I'll control where we go, how the environment interacts with us. You don't need to worry about it.
Do you use food?
If the dog is nervous and they're not barking, I will get a safe enough distance and start to use food to change the perception of how the dog views the situation. But you're talking thousands of repetitions for counter conditioning with food to work. It does work, but it's months and months and months of work, if not years. But that's when you're working under threshold. Once your dog is already barking or in hyper alert mode, ears forward, getting ready to bark or barking, there's no food until that arousal is tamped down in
That was a loaded question, if you guys can't tell.
In some way, shape, or form. So yeah, exactly. So if it's excitement barking, you can really just go after it. 16 weeks or older, it's like, no, cut it out. Tug of the leash, a little bit of change of direction, and take control of the situation. If it's nervous barking, you've got to be more conscious of that. You got to not be quite so close when you can. You're going to have to really put in the work to build up a threshold, a tolerance for kids screaming. Like if I'm at the park and I'm working with a dog that's nervous or reactive to kids talking, screaming, playing, I'll go controlled session at least once a week, work my dog, get some energy out, then 15 minutes go sit on a bench or sit on the grass at enough distance to where I can control any kids coming up. No, sorry, go away. And when my dog's ears perk up, dog come, good, we get up, we walk away, work a little bit, and then come back into the fire, right? So that's how you're working on that. It's something that has to be actively looked at. As far as excitement or nervousness or a little bit of both. Maybe he just doesn't know what to do with himself. Well, you got to tell him what to do. You follow me. We bubble out and around. You don't worry about the kids. They're not your problem. And then see how he actually is with kids. If it's a calm kid in a controlled setting, that's like a family member or something, like a coachable child, where you can actually see how your puppy feels about kids. Make it really calm, slow, because she may not know. She may not even know how her puppy actually feels about kids. Sure. So just kind of keep that in mind. No dog, well, I shouldn't say no dog. A lot of dogs, they don't like this. It's very scary. And if this happens to them a few times, they're going to start barking at it because no one's advocating for them, whether they're under 16 weeks or over. So anyway, something to just keep in mind. There's a lot of info. We should move on. What do you got?
All right.
I was just trying to live up to your beginning section. There were like gold nuggets in his first beginning section. I'm gonna like go back and listen to that again. You like upped your game or something. You study on the weekends, dog training?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I study it 24/7.
I know.
All right. From Zena. I like that name. What can I do to stop my puppy from chasing cats? Put them on a leash and control the energy in the house. Every time you see the ears perk up and they look at the cat, recall them away from the cat, ask them for a few commands, and reward them once you realize they're not paying attention to the cat. Mm-hmm. So you're not
put the leash on the cats.
No.
Do not put the leash
Don't
on
put
the
the leash on the cats.
Wait a minute, we do that actually. Like we
are not here for cats today. We are not talking about cats. Put a leash on the dog. Redirect the dog's focus away from the cats. I just had a huge conversation about this with my tattoo artist. Do not put a leash on the cat. Redirect the dog's focus. Reward the dog when he's not paying attention to the cat. You're not rewarding the arousal towards the cat. You're rewarding the redirection away from the cat.
For your information, when we work with, we as in like, we both are here like as Puppy Academy, and then we also both have our own businesses. So we, as in me and my side of things, we actually will put like harnesses on cats and leashes on cats and work so cats can't flee or scratch the tar out of us, and we'll walk the cats around with treats as well as walk the dogs around with treats. This takes a little bit of practice, but it's very useful. I would just like to say that. Anyway, what I would say on top of what he said is that if your dog is over 4, 5, 6 months old, you know, it really depends on what it is. Do you think it's just play, prey drive? Do you not know? Or is your 6-month-old, you know, Schnauzer, Terrier, Jack Russell puppy trying to kill your cat. You got to find out.
Are they holding on, or are they chasing down, and like there's just a whole bunch of goofiness going on too?
Yeah, because it
Prey
is
drive
different,
is
and it'll look the same. It can be tricky.
Yeah, it's true.
So I would say definitely 16 weeks or older, 4, 5, 6 month mark. You don't just redirect arousal, you also need to correct it. So, or interrupt it, I could say, or I can have I check the energy. There's a lot of fancy terms trainers use.
Pet corrector is one of the tools we like to use.
Yep.
A little air spray.
And you just want something for the dog to just go, whoa, what? And look at the human instead of focusing on the cat. Then redirect the dog. So it's like you are stifling their energy a little bit, whatever that energy might be, whether it's fun or not so much fun, and then redirecting it over and over and over again. But there's another purpose. You have to make sure your cat feels safe. So I don't know how your cat is reacting, but in every room there has to be an out for your cat. That's the first thing. I mean, your puppy shouldn't have access to all the rooms anyway, but if there's like a big open space, your cat needs to have an outlet on both walls in each room to get up and away. And then what we like to do is if there's a cat tree in one room, and then a shelving unit in another room, and then in another room there's a counter, there's all these places the cat can get away, we make it off limits even to the puppy. Like the puppy's not allowed to jump on the cat tree, sniff the cat tree. It's off limits. You have to respect it, just like we do for like an infant, like a newborn infant in a crib or anything like that. The dog is not allowed to jump up. They're allowed to sniff at a safe distance. They're not allowed to lean out and invade the space of the cat or the child or anything like that. It's respect. When it comes to cats and kids, you want respect first. Then that develops a relationship later of love, or if your dog isn't great with the cat, at least you have respect.
A boundary. You're setting the boundary. No, that's really really good.
Yeah, it's what I do.
You had to cover the whole leash cat thing.
I'm not kidding. I actually one of my head trainers, she trains her cat. She even has played around with different types of tools and stuff on her cat to give her cat more confidence to follow her around
It's
dogs.
true. I follow her on TikTok. It's actually really funny.
It totally works.
Yeah, it does.
Totally works.
I stand corrected.
It's harder for cats because they don't care about you.
All right, Alex, stop attention barking. 3-month-old flat-coated retriever.
I was so excited to see a flat-coated retriever.
Bethy, I'm gonna let you take this one.
Have you ever even seen a flat-coated retriever?
I have, but it's very unique looking.
Yeah, I hardly ever see them in SoCal, and where I grew up in Illinois, I used to see them all the time. One of my trainers that taught me when I was little, she had all flat-coated retrievers. So we would do hunting trials and stuff, and they're great dogs. I love them. Okay, what was the question?
Attention barking. How do we stop it?
Oh, stop spoiling your dog. No, I'm kidding. There's more. There's more. No, I'm just, honestly, we get a lot of terriers and a lot of just really driven dogs that attention bark. They're just really driven, even if you haven't spoiled them. Sorry, that was a guttural response. But no,
Can you tell we do this a lot?
Yeah, we do this a lot. Maybe, Alex, maybe there is somewhere during your day where you're accidentally nurturing your dog, telling you what to do. It's just not directly related to the barking. So I'll give you some examples, and even if it doesn't apply to Alex, I know it applies to other people out there. So here are some examples. Pawing a puppy, 3-month-old puppy, circling by the back door or pawing at the back door to be letting to go out to pee. Coming up to you and nudging you and you petting the dog. Pawing at you and you petting the puppy. Bringing you a toy and you taking the toy and throwing it. If you're seeing a theme, it's that your puppy is giving you obedience commands and you're following them.
You're being trained.
And so what accidentally happens is if you don't do what they want fast enough, they start to demand bark at you or nip at you or things or jump on you, things like that.
I see where you're going with this. I like that. That's good. Good lead up.
But what could also be happening is they're too excited around food. So don't just do a sit and a stay for the food bowl. Actually work them for their kibble and make sure they're calm. Maybe just walk around with their food bowl and don't allow them to follow you. Even a 3-month-old puppy, you can anchor in place and walk around, and every time they follow you, no, get back. Use a little spatial pressure. These dogs are a pretty decent size at this point, so you can move into them. Use a leash to help guide them back. They have to be semi-calm before you feed them. And if you don't have time to do that because you're doing all sorts of other things with your flat-coated retriever, then only feed them in crate. Try to choose some ways to make sure there's no excitement around food, because I've seen that happen a lot and then transition to throughout the day. So that's the first thing, is the no spoiling. And then do you want to jump in on more practical things?
I like the crate thing. That's what we do in our whole program. I have quite a few labs. I know different Labrador retrievers, golden retriever, it's virtually the same thing in the mentality of like their food drive. Labs tend to be a little bit more food motivated. When I have my labs doing that, I'll put them in the crate, I'll prep their food across the room or even in a different room. And when I get that bark, I set that bowl on top of their crate or in a different room on the kitchen counter, and then I walk away. Mm-hmm. When they calm down and settle, maybe not a full blown down, but maybe just like a sit and like watching you, that's when I'll bring the bowl back in and I'll wait. And if I get the same repeated behavior of that barking, that demand barking, that intention barking, I'll repeat. Put it back on the side.
The reason this is important is even if it's just excitement and not demand barking, it leads to demand barking in other areas. If your puppy's like this, waiting for their food bowl, and you give it to them when they're like that, you're gonna get demand barking for something else later in the day because you're accidentally rewarding too much arousal.
Overstimulation.
Overstimulation.
Arousal is a word that a lot of trainers will use. I feel like regular human civilians would use more of overstimulation. When a dog is overstimulated, it means that's like the shakes, where you're like, are you afraid? No, they're just bubbling with energy. They don't know what to do with themselves.
I shocked a woman yesterday. She was shocked when I told...
Not physically.
She looked shocked when I told her that her puppies that were barking at everything and everyone, and one was 4 months old, one was 7 months old, they're so demanding, jumping up, and while we were just talking, they're jumping up and they didn't even think about it. They're reaching down and petting. And I was like, ooh, that has to stop right there. No more petting your dog or your puppy when they come up to you and demand it with a paw or jumping up on you or anything like that. And they were like, literally, this is such a great question. When do I show my puppy love? I was like, oh, that's a really good way of putting it. And it is how humans, interpret that. So how you show your puppy love is you wait till they're calm, or you wait till you've worked with them, even if it's just for 5 minutes, then call them over to you, pet them calmly. So most of your pets are associated with calm. And then make sure they remain calm, and then give them something else to do. If they're old enough, put them back in place. Give them a chew toy in their playpen. Don't just pet them and walk away, because you're creating excitement. You have to settle them down almost again to redirect them to something else. But don't do it when they're demanding it. And some of you might not have any issues with this, but demand barking, jumping up, barking at other things, basically arousal issues, overstimulation issues, you've really got to take a look at that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the day, if you're doing all these things, Alex, if you really feel like you are doing all these things, you have a really driven puppy, and you need to go ahead and start to be a bit firmer in other ways. So we do body language, moving into a puppy, hey, settle down, a little leash tug, a pet corrector, things like that to settle your dog down, and then do all the other stuff that we mentioned. So I'm not saying specifically you, Alex, are doing all those things to accidentally amp up your puppy, but I know some other people out there are as well.
I'm going to tag one more thing in before we move on. So she mentioned that you can do like the pet, put them back on place. A lot of people will say, well, can't I put them just back in their crate? No, if you've aroused them.
Not if they're excited, yeah.
Because you're basically saying, here's all this love and affection, now go back in your crate. And they're gonna bark for the next 25 minutes because what are you doing? I just got love. How can I stay in here now?
Yeah, because petting is stimulation, which is something I say all the time now after I heard you say that. It's so good. Petting is stimulation, and even if it's calm petting, so you have to make sure your dog is nice and calm before you leave them, because even if you don't get barking right away, by the second month you will, because you're slowly stacking anxiety, you know? Okay, anyway, we gotta move on. We thought we had all this time, and now we don't. Okay, life with Kay. No, I was gonna do life with Kay. We're thinking of getting another puppy. Winston is a current student with Puppy Academy. Hi, Kay. What is your opinion on sheepadoodles? Would this breed be good for training, temperament with Winston? Winston is a 14-week-old golden doodle. Before you answer the sheepadoodle thing, please make sure, Kay, that you give these. I've just been in 2 situations recently where 2 puppies are too closely bonded. They're not even litter mates, and it's just wreaking havoc in the household. Make sure these puppies are getting alone out time, meaning one puppy gets to be out for a little while alone with the family and then crated, and then the other puppy. Controlled interactive scenarios, and then you can train them together, but they also need at least 5 minutes a day training separate. Okay,
they're gonna have a ton of time to bond with each other.
They're the same species.
It doesn't need to happen in the first 2 weeks of having them.
Because then you won't matter. People do not matter.
Training is gonna be harder, and Winston's a smart dog. So I can tell you right now, Winston will start regressing on his training if we give them too much time together, but you're not spending enough time one-on-one and training them individually.
Honestly, he'll probably regress some anyway. That's really normal when you bring another energy into the household. Even if you're perfect, even if you're sparky, you're still gonna see some regression. Not me, but if you're sparky.
Just tooting a little bit. All right, so sheepadoodles. In my business, I'm actually training 3 sheepadoodles right now. Hopefully, Tina, you're watching too. I know I referred you to this, so maybe you can even ask a question about it. Sheepadoodles are very goofy, lackadaisical, ditzy yet very exciting, happy puppies.
Easily excitable, quick to arousal and nippiness and playfulness, and they're huge, and it can be
the first
tough.
session I have with every single sheepadoodle, no matter what the age is I walk in, they jump on me, they pee on my shoe from excitement. Even if I don't even look at them, they nip at my fingers.
That's your favorite thing too.
Oh, I love it. Got nice shoes, love it. And then they run away, and then they go jump on every family member in turn, and they kind of like just redo the whole cycle.
And then if you tell them no, they jump on the couch and turn everything into an agility course, and then take a pillow and go rah.
You have trained one or 2 of them.
Yeah,
they do that.
Good luck, Kate. Good luck. No, I'm just kidding.
They're amazingly awesome dogs, but they do take some time to kind of work them into a groove.
Yeah, they kind of stay like adolescent puppies longer. Is it their size?
As they get to about 6 to 8 months, that's when they start like kind of like figuring everything out. But you get like a puppy that's going to act like a puppy until they're about 6 months old.
But yet they're big,
huge
early on. So you got to be a little tougher on them than you might like to be because they're so big. I think that's what we run into the most. We're getting these large breed puppies that are higher drive, higher working drive, and they're goofy, but I know this mostly from you, that he's talked about how they really do need a channel for all that energy and all that focus. The problem is we still treat them like puppies when they're already coming up to our knee and then our waist. And so they just wreak havoc all over us. So you've got a good prep with Winston. I don't know what breed Winston is.
But Winston's not going to train the puppy.
Oh, golden
That's what
doodle.
a lot of people think. Well, if I already have Winston trained to this point, I think he's 14 weeks or something, maybe a little bit older than that.
14 weeks. Oh
For
my
Winston?
God, really young, yeah.
Yeah, for Winston. So Winston is not going to train the new puppy to follow what he does.
He's still a puppy.
He's still a puppy. He's still a baby. You got to do all that under 16 weeks, baby. So you got to train all of that. You got to really have the individual time, separate crates, like maybe even 2 different rooms or opposite sides of the house, because you want to make sure they don't have that like sibling attachment that gets to the point to where like they absolutely need each other.
Can I just say one thing real quick? We are thinking of getting another puppy, and it just dawned on me that 14-week-old. If you feel stressed out working with Winston, if you ever feel like you don't have the time to give Winston what he needs, I would say wait. I don't know you personally, I haven't met you yet, but I would say wait. We usually advise that people don't get another dog unless they're fully settled in adolescence and fully trained, or an adult even, like a young adult, like 2, right at that cutoff. But if you feel like you've got time and you've got the energy and you're really interested in learning more about dogs and how they learn and a different breed, and you're excited about it, then sure, go ahead. But it's gonna be pretty tough. And so
we're also not sure if you've locked down on a sheepadoodle. Sheepadoodles are really challenging to train with other dogs in the house because they're high energy. They feed off of other energy, like kids and other dogs. Our favorite type of doodle is usually a burn doodle. They actually tend to be a little bit more chill.
We like
they tend to get a bit bigger, but bigger doesn't necessarily mean more crazy, more energy. It just
bigger than
usually means
sheepadoodle?
Yeah, they are bigger. Bernedoodles are significantly bigger.
We've had
We've had minis.
We've had minis. Okay, because
Yeah.
we've had 2 sheepadoodles in here that are sheepdog size.
Yes, but their fur is that long. Their bodies are actually quite thin.
Oh,
Sheepadoodles tend to be thin bodies, but lots of fur.
Bernedoodles are thicker.
are thick
They're
body,
thicker.
shorter fur.
I was thinking
but
height. But they're thicker.
I think about like weight.
I know.
We just think Bernedoodles are a bit easier. So if you're still thinking about what
Usually,
breed,
on average.
Sheepadoodles can be great dogs. They take a lot more work though than a Bernedoodle would.
I think so too. I think they're more work than golden doodles too, just because of their sheer size and just some of the
goofiness.
Some of the excitement levels we've seen are huge.
This the one that I'm training right now, he actually knows how to jump up, grab a woman's bun, and pull the hair scrunchie out of her hair. And
They're so big.
She doesn't
They're so
back
tall.
off until she's got it.
They're so tall.
Yeah.
Okay, so really quick, we have a 3-month-old German Shepherd mix husky. Prevent her from biting my other dog that's older than her but smaller in size. You got to keep them separate.
Boundaries.
It's really unfair. It's all about boundaries. You've got to keep them separate until your puppy is fully trained and has learned impulse control. Now, if your smaller dog really loves it and enjoys it, then you can do short, controlled sessions of interactive play. But if your small dog doesn't like it, that's unfair. You got to keep them separate for a while until your larger dog has reached more maturity. But even then, this is a tough scenario. Big dog, small dog is no joke. It takes a lot of training, a lot of time, because your dog's not going to mellow out for a while, even with training, because they're going to be an adolescent dog for up to 2 years old.
So boundaries have to be strong.
Yep.
A lot of structure in place, a lot of freedom for the older dog, but not so much for the younger dog.
Right.
Young dog's got to know you're in charge.
Yeah, exactly.
And that the older dog might even be a bit more in charge than he is.
And you
or
just,
she is.
and see, 3 months old, so you probably should really be getting into a lot of impulse control with that puppy. So maybe the older, so some of their controlled interaction is they sniff each other on leash, and you recall the puppy to you, sit, food. If you're not ready for that yet, if you're older, if your puppy won't focus on you with food, with your younger puppy around, you need more man, I'm all over the place. If your puppy can't focus on you with food, with your small dog around, then you might need to get some one-on-one help, or just really do a YouTube dive of videos creating more of a bond between you and the puppy that's based on food work, and that's okay at 3-month-old age.
Bethany, we got to cut you off. That's all we can do. We do have 2 questions for one of them.
All right.
Do you want to? Should we get into one more question? We know it's a little bit over, but
Yeah, let's do a quick one for this one on Instagram because it's been here a while.
Okay.
TikTok, you can submit questions for next week. We're just about to wrap it up. So I have a 12-week-old mini golden doodle, 4.5 pounds. We started to have a problem with him eating his food. Any tips on how to have him eat on his own?
Well, I would just to kind of put this in real quick, and then I'll let him take over with the food stuff, is don't worry and don't fuss. Dogs can sense worry. They can even sense pheromones coming out of us if we're all like, oh, please eat. So that can be, they can kind of feel that energy when you're like begging them to eat internally, even if it's not physical, and it can make them more weirded out. So maybe just give them their food and turn your back, walk away, act like you don't care, even though you do care, because that can really affect dogs.
I have a lot of people that ask me this question. I'm like the nutrition
Especially with
guy.
these tiny breeds, right?
Yeah, the mini golden doodles especially. Any small dogs, they tend to get fawned over, especially when they're not eating food, things like that. So the best piece of
chicken broth.
Yes, thank you. The best piece of advice that I can give is one, I like to feed in crate. I think it's easier if there's nothing else for them to do. So they're in the crate, they're kind of relaxed. This only really works for dogs that aren't super stressed out in crate. More comfortable and confident, and there's things that you can add to food that's not necessarily bad for them. Chicken broth, no sodium, because sodium will mess them up the salt well. Also, you can do sweet potato, you can do pumpkin, like mashed pumpkin, all of it human grade. You can buy it from your local Vons or like supermarket or something. And then one of my favorites is fish oil. Quick squirt of fish oil, coat all the kibble, mix it around, and also unrefined coconut oil. I don't do a lot of it, but it's a different taste than fish oil. Some dogs aren't a huge fan of it. Yeah, some dogs really like it. My dog did for about 2 years, and then out of nowhere just stopped. I switched to fish oil. I got another couple years. And when you give this food to them, give them only about 5 minutes to eat. Your food has to have value. That you leave that bowl on the ground all day long, and this food has no value because
no
it's
urgency.
there all the time. Yeah, there's
No
no
sense of
urgency to use
urgency.
it. 5 minutes, take it away, save it for the next meal. over and over and over again. Okay, I'm ending it there. You go for like 20 minutes on this.
DMO Dak, a great question on the Border Collie. So here's the thing, guys. We didn't have very many questions, so we really took our sweet time. So next week, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, get those questions in the comments and we will make it a priority. We were taking our sweet time because we didn't get that many questions. Where were y'all at? Come on now. So Wednesday, next week, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you next week.
She lit the fire, didn't she?